What's up, everybody? CHM Carnivorous here. I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Now, I know I just released a video about a tour of the grow tent, but I wanted to talk to you today about something that I feel is very, very important. And unfortunately, it's not a great topic or an uplifting topic, and that is about gatekeeping in the carnivorous plant community. I do think it's important, as I teach you how to grow these plants, that I also teach you how to deal with the other side of it, and that is dealing with, well, let's just be honest, rude individuals who are either purposely or not intentionally trying to gatekeep this hobby and keep you out of it. I'm going to tell you about what is gatekeeping, how to find it, what to look for, what to see, and how to address it. So you might have heard about this terminology if you are on any of the forums, or if you post online or whatever you do, and those is called gatekeeping. Gatekeeping, to put it simply, are individuals that are either attempting to or inadvertently attempting to keep people out of the carnivorous plant hobby. Now, the biggest thing that you'll see in gatekeeping is people telling you that growing carnivorous plants is unattainable, very, very difficult, or wildly expensive. Now, I don't think that everybody's intention is to purposely keep people out of the hobby. I think a lot of times people go by what their experience is, and their experience might be that it's wildly expensive or that it's difficult, but they project that onto the hobby as a whole. The reality could not be further from the truth. Growing carnivorous plants is very easy to do. But that is what gatekeeping is. It's when individuals try to keep other individuals from growing these plants. You'll see this a lot when it comes to forums. When simple questions are asked, you'll get very, very rude responses, and oftentimes persuading others to stop growing them altogether instead of providing helpful options. That is a classic sign of gatekeeping. All right, so first and foremost, if you hear ambient noise going on, my neighbor is having yard work done, and they are very dedicated to the blower. That thing has been going off for like an hour now. But now that I've told you about what gatekeeping is, the first thing I want to cover is if you're wanting to start a carnivorous plant hobby YouTube channel or something similar. I cannot believe that this video has to be made, but it does, and specifically this topic. So when I started creating content, what I noticed as soon as I would upload is I would immediately get dislikes. I'm talking within seconds. And I was wanting to understand what was going on, as no one would have the time to be able to watch that content. And what I started noticing is this phenomena was happening with other channels that were new as well. And so I started asking around. I started asking a lot of the content creators, and what I found out is appalling and quite frankly ridiculous. So what other gatekeepers or channels are doing is purposely going on and trying to sandbag or dissuade people from watching other YouTube channels. Absolutely insane. And to go even further than that, while I don't have any physical proof, I've actually gotten word of this from several different growers who don't know each other and don't understand or don't know the context together. And that is that other channels are actually persuading people through plant giveaways and stuff to go and dislike other people's channels. Now, I'm not personally offended by that. Frankly, if somebody's wanting to do that, that's their business. What I am offended about is the whole point that we should be doing collectively as a group in this hobby is getting people interested and spreading the word as much as possible about the uniqueness and the wonderfulness of these plants, and to get people growing them. And the fact that somebody is going to the extent to go out of their way to persuade people from watching content that will help them grow these plants is honestly disgusting. It keeps people out of this hobby. It does nothing to help anyone other than the person who's trying to, I don't know, make themselves bigger without the care for the plants or the people behind it. So now that's the professional side of when you're creating content, but I understand that a lot of people aren't going to want to create content. So let's talk about the forums, or where you go to get advice if you're just wanting to simply grow these plants. Now, I created the Carnivorous Plant Help for Beginners Facebook group because of all the negativity that I was seeing being given to people who are just trying to understand how to get in this hobby and how to grow these very unique plants. And so what I was appalled by and disgusted by was how many people not only tried to dissuade people from growing these plants, but were outright rude to the individual and tried to turn them off from the hobby altogether. And so what I decided to do was create my own group that would help people by giving them a safe place to be able to provide feedback that would help them and help answer their questions to grow these plants correctly. After all, that is what we should all attain to, is to not only have these in our collection, but to grow them responsibly. So I created that group and it has done very well. But what has been appalling to me is the amount of feedback that I've received of how thankful people are that this channel exists. That's not what I'm appalled by. I'm grateful for that. What I'm appalled by is that they're thankful it exists because of the amount of negativity they have received on other forums and groups just by asking simple questions. That is frankly disgusting, and it is something that I am very much against, and I find it to be abhorrent behavior. So what are the different types of gatekeeping, and what should you look for? What is real honest feedback, and what is feedback that is meant to deter you from growing these plants? As I mentioned, gatekeeping is anything from sabotaging somebody's desires to grow these plants or to educate people about these plants, all the way down to unintentional gatekeeping about explaining to people why they should not be in the hobby because they're going to use things like regular water or regular soil, when those people are simply asking, what are the options? Now, not everybody that gatekeeps is a bad person or has bad intentions. Sometimes they're just very passionate about the hobby, and they may have forgotten what it's like to be new to it. Now, whether they're intentional or not, there are things that you can see and spot right away that will let you know that this is gatekeeping and that you should not take it seriously. If anybody is being extreme with their answers to you, if they're providing hyperbole and large messages like you should never grow these plants, you have no idea what you're talking about, that is going to be more of a troll and less of somebody who actually wants to provide feedback. If you're getting just negative feedback in general that doesn't provide a positive twist, that is another good indicator. And if you're getting an overwhelming amount of negative feedback without anything that will help you in the long run, that is clearly a sign. Now, I'm not here to call out names, but there are a few people out there who are professionals at gatekeeping and trolling people in this hobby. And so one thing that they constantly do is that they constantly provide negative feedback to individuals when they have simple questions. So what motivates a gatekeeper to gatekeep? Why do they do that? What is in it for them? Now, I've done a lot of studying about this because frankly, there are just people out there that are trolls. It doesn't happen to be in the carnivorous plant community. They're just in general, that's what they enjoy, ruining people's day. I don't know. But why else could they be motivated? Now, for the intentional ones, there could be a motivation to keep as many people out of this hobby as possible because that will continue to keep the prices artificially elevated so that there's a financial gain in it for them. The more people who collect these plants, supply and demand will tell you that the lower the cost is going to be. There will be a brief uptick in cost as more people demand and the supply can't keep up. But as these plants are collected more and more and more, demand will flatten out, supplies will increase, and the cost will drop. It's not about profiting off of these plants. Certainly, I'm not condemning any company that wants to make money off of selling these plants. I think that's an amazing thing, and I'm glad they exist because it wasn't too long ago that you could not get these plants to save your life. And so the fact that these companies are selling these plants responsibly is amazing. It keeps the poachers at bay, and it allows people who normally would not have access to these plants the opportunity to be able to buy them. So I am not demonizing those sellers at all. I'm simply trying to understand why some of the gatekeepers might be doing it. But honestly, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's a psychological thing. You see, for the longest time, growing carnivorous plants has been seen as a very specialized hobby. And so there is a lot of people who have grown them a very specific way for a very long time. And even though collecting carnivorous plants has been something that's been going on for a very long time, it has just recently become a very large phenomenon. And so there's a lot of attempts to find different ways to grow these plants. Some of them are not traditional. And so a lot of this is psychological pushback because these growers have grown them a certain way for a very long time. And now there's some of these non-traditional ways of growing them that tend to get people a little bit frazzled. On top of that, I think, again, growers have been doing this for a long time and they've forgotten what it's like to be new. When you're new, especially with something like carnivorous plants, and even today, as much content and information is out there, it is infinitely smaller than non-carnivorous plants. If you want to find out information about a non-carnivorous plant, you can go out there and find that information relatively quickly. There is still a ton of content about carnivorous plants that just simply doesn't exist. So there's a lot of people that have to do peer-to-peer mentoring, reaching out to people who have grown these plants to try to understand what is going on with their plant, because the information is simply not available to them like a non-carnivorous plant would be. And so I think that might be the main motivator when it comes to these plants. And that is growers who are seasoned, who simply have forgotten what it's like to be new. When you're new, you're going to ask questions that to a seasoned grower seem like common sense. But that simply is not the case. When it comes to growing carnivorous plants, while there's information on the internet, it is sparse at best. And you want to hear from the people who have grown these things for a while and had trial and error. Now, I have not been growing them nearly as long as a lot of people, but I've still had to rely on trial and error because, again, the information just isn't there. So the long and the short is, I do not want to demonize those out there that are growing these plants responsibly and selling them responsibly. They are providing a wonderful, amazing service to the world at large. It wasn't too long ago that the general population was not able to grow these plants or even be able to get these plants available to them. And these growers have allowed something that hasn't been around for very long, and that is a large-scale opportunity to own these amazing and what was and still is in some cases rare plants. But we also, that comes with that, is a social responsibility to teach people how to grow these plants responsibly and to make sure that these plants stay healthy, not only for the sake of the plants and the hobby at large, but also for the individual. If they're able to grow these plants, they can grow them responsibly, they can propagate them responsibly, and they can grow the numbers responsibly. Less influence will be put on the poachers to provide these plants irresponsibly, which means that we're going to do a better job of protecting their natural ecosystems outside of land reclamation, which is a whole nother thing. What I can tell you is this. At Carnivorous Plant Help for Beginners on Facebook and Carnivorous Plant Help on YouTube, I am dedicated, and my mission is to help you grow these plants, but to give you a safe place to be able to ask the questions that you need. No question is too rudimentary. No question is too simple. I have not forgotten what it's like to be new to the hobby, and I want like-minded people helping out as well. Now, I could not be more pleased with how the Facebook group in this channel has gone. But part of helping you grow these plants is understanding what environment you may or may not be subjected to when you get into the growing these plants. Now, this video is in no way meant to disparage you from growing them. On the contrary, I want you to dig in deep to grow these plants, but also have the resiliency to know that there are going to be people out there that are going to try to dissuade you. For whatever their motivations are, it doesn't matter. Simply ignore those people and reach out to those that are trying to help, like myself and several others out there. Now, my experience, for the most part, has been wildly fantastic when growing these plants. And there are a lot of seasoned growers who have gone out of their way to try to help new growers. I'm not attempting in any way to demonize the carnivorous plant hobby in general, but to simply point out that there are individuals, just like any other topic out there, that you are going to receive pushback from. It's certain things like carnivorous plants, people tend to be very, very passionate about. Whether intentional or unintentional, they are going to be gatekeepers. And so my job here is to help you grow these plants, also help you grow with the community, and also help you to understand that growing these plants far outweighs any of the negativity that you're going to receive from it. As always, I hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And if you've experienced any of this negativity, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm willing to provide you whatever support you were not able to get and provide you actual feedback that can help you grow these plants. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. See you soon.